Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Newton.
How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
Excellent. May I ask you to tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Dr. Claudia Ortiz.
Excellent. And will you share a little bit about yourself to help us get to know you a little bit better?
Yes, so to start, I can tell you a little bit about my background and my education and career. So I was born in Cali, Colombia, and I came here to the United States at the age of 7 years old.
Mhm.
My parents brought me here to offer me the opportunity of having a better life through education. Coming here, we grew up with a lot of sacrifices. My parents didn't speak English, neither did my mom, neither did I. So I went through a lot in school, and learning the new language was something that was a struggle for me. And
Mhm.
then learning the new culture. So I know that my mom always instilled in me to go back to school, to stay in school, and that she would always be so supportive. And therefore, I just continued my school. I struggled, but I would make sure that I was reading a lot of books, that I was focusing on stuff. And my parents really believed that that at home we spoke Spanish. That was really important, that we kept our native language, because that was our identity, that was our culture. And they would tell me, you learn English at school. Here you're going to learn and speak our language. And that's why it makes us so proud to be Latinas, right? Latinos. And my parents went through a lot for me to get to where I am at. If it wasn't for mostly for my mom's sacrifices, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I currently just earned my doctorate degree in educational leadership.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And that was a journey in itself, because that was another journey, because as you may know, there's only about 2% of Latina women in earning a doctor's degree. And it was very important for me to be part of that, raising up that percentage. That's important for me because it talks about our culture and about si se puede. Yes, we can, and yes, it
We
can
can.
be done. Yes, and I'm not here to tell you that it's easy, because it's not.
It's not.
I sat down doing lots of reading, research articles, and especially working through my dissertation, where I was like, oh my goodness, with being a full-time mom working, I kind of felt alone in
Mhm.
this process, because there wasn't somebody that I can easily call, a friend, a family member, or anyone when I would get stuck.
Mhm.
I'm the first generation university graduate and the first to earn a doctor's degree in my family. So I really had to push myself and continue on, and having the dissertation fully defending it and earning the doctor's degree is an accomplishment that I feel very proud of.
Well, you should be very proud. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I want to ask a very basic question. What is the difference between Hispanic and Latino populations for the benefit of our audience?
So you know what, Hispanic has been a term that was given to us, one of those that you check off in a box, right? For many years, you just accept it, because there's nothing else that you can like check off on a box and be like, oh, well, I consider myself Latin America. That's where it comes from. So for our audiences, that's what I identify as. I identify as a Latina woman because I come from Latin America.
Okay. Well, that makes perfectly good sense. I appreciate that. I would assume that people who are south of the United States, like Southwest, like Mexico and other such areas, their designation probably is different. But I think for a long time, in a lot of people's mind, there was no distinction between whether you're in Latin America or Southwest America, or Southwest U.S. or Southwest on the continent. That you were just that group and they were all lumped together. And I think that's a very important distinction to be made, is how people actually identify. And a lot of times we are identified ourselves. We don't even get a choice about how we're
Right.
identified, so we went from enslaved people to other kinds of names, and eventually we became Negroes, which is still a strange term to me. And then, and I think that's a Hispanic word, isn't it? That's a Spanish word, isn't it? Negroes is the color
Yeah,
black,
that is right.
right? The color black. And then we became Afro Americans, and then African Americans, and today many people refer to us as people of color. And I think all of that's, I guess you can allow yourself to be defined as our culture does, but I don't define myself as an African American or Afro American or even a Negro. I am a Black woman. And I think it's very important that you do that same thing, because it's those girls that are looking at you and looking to you to find their path. It's important that you know yours. So that's very, very helpful. Thank you for sharing that with me.
No problem. Thank you.
So now I want to go back to the doctorate. So you said you're first generation in your family to go to college, and then first you get a doctorate degree. So
Yes.
what gave you the strength to go? How did you keep going every day, considering all the challenges Black and brown people experience in education, both elementary and post-secondary education? What gave you the strength to go?
You know, I think it was those values that why we were here in the United States. It
Mhm.
was why my it kept resonating with me, my parents. And not only that, but for me as I wanted to make sure that I was going to be an example for other children, minority children, for more specifically minority young women.
Mhm.
I happen to have two daughters, and it was very important that what I'm saying to them, I'm living it.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, yes, you can. Si se puede. And you don't let, there's no limits, right? And what a doctor's degree to me in education meant or means is that I am now someone that's, it was important for me because it was professional development, continuing my education, keep pushing through. It meant that I am someone that children can look up to. I'm in a field where role models are needed, role models that look like them, that reflect their culture and how they look, right? So to me, it's like, okay, so now I'm exposing my community, inspiring a community, and helping them along the way to say that, yeah, if someone like me did it, yeah. And I had a lot of barriers, challenges, but nevertheless, I didn't quit. So
Right.
that was really important for me.
Excellent. That's very good. So when we talked the last time about this, we talked a lot about the term doctor in front of your name, or
Yeah.
even the alphabets behind your name. And there's been a lot of questioning about whether you should call yourself doctor, or whether you should refer to yourself as a doctor, even though you have it, or whether you have whatever the alphabets are behind your name, whether you should use that.
Right.
But do you see a value in having that name, having doctor in front of your name, or your letters after your name? Do you see a value in that? And if so, why?
Yes, of course, I do see a value of it. Otherwise, wouldn't have gone through that whole journey. It's it's a testament, it's a validation of I earned this, right? It's a doctorate's degree. Our and it's important to have it in front because it tells others this is someone who worked hard,
Mhm.
who did the work. Like
Mhm.
I said, it's a terminal degree. There's doctorates, so it's showing others that, especially for my community and my family and just the children that I lead
Mhm.
in the community. I was thinking, I'm like, when you put doctor in front, the only doctor that they know is the health doctor. That's the only area that they know. And even I was into that too, right? Growing up, I didn't realize that was even a degree, that you could get a doctorate in something else.
Right.
And that's why it's valuable, because you are teaching others and young people that there are doctors for everything. It's just a matter of being an expert in that field, and that's what you are once you earn it, because you have studied it fully, engaged in the research, and been fully engulfed in it. And therefore that's really important to honor yourself, and therefore help others learn more about what what a doctorate is.
Absolutely. So, how do you plan to use your education, not only for your career and your family, but for yourself to advance your career?
Well, it helped me definitely advance my career because you're considered an expert in your field, right? You obviously do know the latest research, and you know the process.
Mhm.
It's more about the process of leadership in my field because that's where I'm at. If for career purposes and advancement, I looked at it because I was like, okay, I definitely want to offer my community someone that's an a well qualified leader, someone that's going to lead them in the right direction,
Mhm.
someone that's what it meant for me.
Mhm.
And also to show others that it could be done, that there is a it just means a lot when you can guide others towards that process if that's what they want. In an example, leading by example. For my family, it meant honoring my mom's sacrifices, being a testament to all the sacrifices that she made. Never did we think that I could be that there could be a doctor in the family.
Right.
I'm that in my family. I wasn't the like my mom never said, "Oh, you're gonna marry a doctor." Rather, you're gonna be the doctor, right? So that to me was very important. I'm like, oh wow, my dad the same. And this dispels all those biases that exist within my own culture, that all Latina women, or that that we are this way, or that oh they need assistance with all this. We may need assistance with with a lot, perhaps, yeah, but not everyone's upbringing is the same, or is categorized because that was the other people's experiences with our culture.
Exactly.
So I was always raised. My dad always said, I remember he would say, I asked him once when I was young. I said, "Well, what should I be? What could I be?" And he said, "You know what? You're gonna be what you want to be, but what you are gonna be is smart. So go and be smart." So that resonated with me always, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be smart, and this is the way I found my way to be."
Right. Absolutely. And so, what do you do now?
Yes.
What is
So right
what's your current
now,
role?
my current role is I am the assistant principal at a dual language school in Chicago.
Mhm.
In my role, I work a lot with engaging teachers into the curriculum, working with them, making sure that there's diversity being taught through the curriculum, making sure that there's inclusion. A lot of the things that I do, I participate and support learning for our teachers with creating a school-wide learning goals, engaging in assessments, walking them through the process of looking at backwards design of assessments. I also collaborate a lot with engaging in the personalized learning plans for children, for our students. We are a personalized learning school. And what that means is that our teachers are they have coaches, we have help design personalized learning for each individual student. So this helps with making sure that our students are included, all of them, that they are fully engaged into the curriculum, that they are different pathways to being on path to graduate.
Absolutely. And so where do you see yourself going from there? So you have that role. Where do you see your career from there? Do you want to stay in the elementary education space, or are you going to go to post-secondary education? Are you going to start your own business? Do you have a sense of where your career is going or what you've been thinking about for your career?
Yeah, so I do have a 5-year plan and then a 10-year plan, career goals, right? But for me, I really love the field that I am in.
Mhm.
I'm in the field of K through 12 education, which that's why I'm right now an assistant principal at an elementary school. Where can that take me? Well, um, I'm looking for down the road, definitely move into principalship. And I would most likely into the elementary school because I happen to have so much experience in that. But nevertheless, I don't rule out the high school level as and then down the road, before I finish off my career, before I retire, I also have a superintendent endorsement, so which I plan to utilize down the road. Not right now, because right now I'm just getting back into the field of leading a school at a school level. But down the road, I will be finishing. I would like to finish as a leading a school district as part of anything that's on side things that I enjoy and that I love. I love writing, so I'm going to continue to write journals, for articles and for journals, research based. That's something that I'm looking closely into because I really love that. That's a pathway towards gaining, teaching others. So that's my avenue through writing. And And let's see, as far as anything else, continue in that pathway and see where it just takes me. But yeah, that's the plan.
That's excellent. So, how do you see your role as a mentor or an advocate for not only Latinx girls, but any girls out there trying to find their way and push through the challenges of succeeding in a global marketplace that's not necessarily designed for them?
My goal is to lead by example and offer them the supports that I found for myself. And if they don't have it within their family circle, then I make sure that they understand that they can come to me at any time and this goes for other Latina women, other minority women, young women, young girls. And I definitely see myself as someone that's a mentor to them, someone that's going to offer valuable life experience, coaching, and yeah, that's how I view it, and definitely having those supports in places for them. So whether it's probably the counseling or they're going through some personal challenges, letting them know that it's okay, that there's always hope, and just making sure that they take care of their needs need to be met. So making sure that I have those supports in places for them.
Excellent. That's very, very helpful. And so, how do you now start to write and to engage your career in a way that gets you to where you want to be in those 5 years?
So it starts with having published my dissertation. This was a huge undertaking. So
Yes,
that's the
it
first publication I have. So I've been making sure that I'm letting everyone know that I have this out there. And if needed, where they can find it is on ProQuest. So that's a start. From there, I'm looking at taking pieces of my research and publishing it for journal articles.
Mhm,
I'm working with my coach, my PhD coach,
mhm,
and she's helping me with that to go ahead and like look at how to publish in journals.
mhm,
And then just from there, I do believe in surrounding myself with other like-minded entrepreneur women. So that's something that I do look into.
mhm.
Other goals that I have that could be for the future, not now because I really focus on what I'm doing. I really love what I'm doing right now as an assistant principal and then moving into principalship and down the road. But something also that I would love to do would be opening up my own school.
Yes.
And I'm looking at, to be honest, I really would like to do it in Latin America, like in South America to be specific, my country, Colombia, and my husband's country, which is Ecuador. I went over there and this past in 2019, I went to Ecuador and realized that there's still a need for better education out there for the remote places, right? So I thought, oh, this would be a great opportunity for me to go in and start something small, but then it becomes big, right? So looking at training teachers out there.
Um, and that's wonderful. So what was that? What would you have to accomplish here in the United States in order to do that in your home country? What tools would you need to have in order to get there?
That's what I'm researching. So I'm tools, getting just fully reaching out to their educational systems, board of educations, looking at what could I bring that could assist. I always would offer, training and development for teachers. That's something that I could do. Looking at, yeah, what are the possibilities that or the needs in that school system,
Right. So you
and
identify.
tools, yeah, identifying the needs, and yeah, I think that's a start.
Yeah, that's excellent. So as you know, and I think many people, black and brown people, have said the traditional education system in America has sometimes been aligned against us instead of for us. The challenges that you face when elementary education can be pretty, I guess, status quo. You teach to the middle, hope the ones on either end get
Yeah.
get what's offered, and then they move on to post-secondary education. But then there are these contrivances that exist between the two, right? So there is being admitted. What happens to you in high school? Did you have a good counselor to tell you could go to a predominantly white school or a top ranked school? Did you have a good counselor who helped you find not student loans, but student scholarships? Did you have all these things to help you? And then, if you manage to navigate that much of the landscape, you then have to get into the schools. So, based on your SATs or ACTs or whatever scoring systems they use, so you've got that, you've got to have your letter of recommendation, you've got all these things you have to do where none of that's taught in elementary school. And many of the guidance counselors in elementary school, all the way to 12, they are strapped with hundreds of students that they've got to, kind of get to before they graduate. So sometimes they start in 10th grade, sometimes they start in 11th grade, and sometimes they don't start until the 12th grade. And a lot of that depends on the student, right? So if the student doesn't come and seek this information, the counselor, being overwhelmed as most are, do not get a chance to put that child in the best space to prepare them for college. And then when you get to college, the rigor of college looks very, very different than it does in elementary school. And I don't care if you've been in an AP program, you've been intellectually gifted, whatever you are, when you're coming into that college space, it's a whole nother world, right? And then to bring to that, when you were in high school or elementary school, mom and dad got you up, got you dressed, you helped you do your homework, reminded you this or reminded you that. Well, now you go off to college and there's nobody to remind you. You are your own person. It's up to you to carve out your success. So, in that world where there are lots of obstacles that exist for Black and Brown communities, how do you envision education changing to be more supportive of people that are not normally or naturally um, attuned to education, if you will?
Yeah, you touch upon a very good topic and things that are occurring in education, especially for our brown and black communities, right? Yes, we all know that this is a culture of learning, that if we didn't get brought up this way, that if in our own homes, this wasn't the kind of language that children were listening to in the dinner table, they're going to be at a disadvantage, right? This is why I advocate for always making sure that the supports that I put in place for our children in the elementary level, they start from the beginning, from as young as we know we have a pre-K program. So it's advocating for it. Make sure that it's not mandatory pre-K education, right? But make sure that I'm reaching out to my community and saying no, but hey, it's available, it's offering it, bring them over. There's a misconception and I help break those, right? Oh, but they're just playing in there. There's children learn through play. So it's information giving them and understanding them. This is where they're learning to socialize. This is where they're learning language. This is where we can identify it early on. What are the supports that your child or children are going to need to succeed? And then once we get into that, into their trajectory in the elementary school and then high school, as you mentioned, the guidance counselors, it's more about changing how that looks and setting the supports within your school to make sure that those children are that everyone will have that available to them. This means that this is how I'm going to proceed on this would be looking at my setting up the structures and systems that will be in place. Making sure that I'm helping identify the children that are different tiers of different support systems, making sure that if having the right people in the school, being an like kind of like we're all in this together in a school setting, that these students are not just that teacher students or that specific program students. They're all of our students and we all know about them. And so we're creating a family within this ecosystem, which is the school, right? So that's how we begin to change that mindset and begin to support our children, that we want them to get out of the circumstances that they're in, with counseling, offering counseling. These are all those supports that you have to identify early on. As an educator, as a school leader, that's what I do. And in terms of when it comes to guidance counselors, making sure that they're guiding the families and they're and one important thing is progress monitoring that the parents are following through, that the students are following through. So it's about setting smart goals with students. So goal setting is in place there. There are there's advisory committees, making sure that students are assigned a mentor within the school. And even when they leave us from the 8th grade, when they graduate and we hand them off to the high school, keeping in touch, having those connections between the grammar school with the high school, and even taking it further, like making sure that these are procedures and systems that we're following these students throughout college. And in college is more in along those ways, I really advocate for helping children be their own advocates, making sure that they understand that advocating for themselves does not mean disrespecting their authority figure, helping them see the difference, saying this is what advocacy, self-advocacy means, and this is what it looks like, and this is how you teaching them how to speak that language and how to behave in that mannerism. I know I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
And now that I've done it myself, I'm able to coach my own daughter that just went through college and helping her see like, no, if here, let me help you understand how to go and navigate the system. You reach out to your guidance counselor. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. Look at the curriculum, look at the what are the requirements, and advocate. I know I had to do that for myself throughout, even through graduate school, where I knew that I had a, I wanted to finish at a certain time. And there was one class that I couldn't take, one too many, right, on my load. And I remember talking to my academic advisor and saying, I want to take another class. I want, because of this and that, I want to finish at this time. Oh, that's not, no, we don't recommend that.
Mhm.
Okay, hear me out. This is what I'm telling you that I would like to do. Oh, we don't do that. I said, okay, so who do I need to speak to that can listen to me? And that was I believe it was the chair. I said, please, I'm going to go ahead and speak with him. What would I need to do? So then it was more like, oh, okay. So now the conversation changes. She's serious. And yes. And it's about changing mindsets about limits. Just because someone else can't do it or it's not recommended doesn't mean that I can't handle that load or that I'm not prioritizing certain things. So I will be teaching about self-efficacy. I'll be teaching about self-advocacy as well.
Yeah. And so, I guess my question just is, so like a lot of what you said is really helpful, but how do you get parents who don't have the time or the resources to make sure their children do their homework, or children who don't have the resources to have internet in their homes, or do not have access to books and writing utensils and paper and all that. How do we in this current moment address that?
We are addressing it by helping them through the process. If it means that we are providing the technology, we're also providing the internet that we got with Chicago Public Schools, which is who I work for. We have programs and we have partnerships with internet companies, and so we give that to the parents. If the parents are not able to do it, we work with them to get them through that. We advocate for them, we make phone calls, we reach out to our partners regarding the times and spaces for children's learning. We talk to our families, and we, not necessarily they can't help them do the homework, but one of the things that is important is to set aside a space for the student to be engaged. Just make sure that this time is is freed for the student to be engaged with the teacher via remote learning. Other things, if that doesn't work because there's the internet is down, things that are not under our control, right? Neither are there for them. So we do alternative routes of that. They can pick up, you know, the material, send it back, and we do everything possible to engage them. We have systems and supports by calling, listening to them, empathizing with them, and taking care of the need first. You need, if there's no food on the table, or if they're struggling because this is why my child is not connecting in these tough times, then we offer places. We have our schools are offering, they're still doing the food for the community, and just getting them in tune with those supports.
Okay. And I think all of that makes perfectly good sense. I think that sometimes for a lot of parents, and we've seen this with COVID and some of the other things where parents are stretched so thin that they are struggling to figure out how to achieve what they need to achieve for their families to be safe and provided for. And in a lot of instances, parents that do not have a strong educational foundation themselves end up having to rely on the school systems to give their children what they are unable to give their children, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. And that's why our responsibility is like the teachers and school systems. Yeah, we it's a huge responsibility, but someone has to do it. And I believe that it's going to change so many, it's going to impact children in so many positive ways when we work together, when we offer those supports and we are giving them to them.
Yeah. Okay, we have a few minutes left, so I'm going to leave the remainder of the time to you to say anything we did not cover.
No, I think we covered about a lot in current events, how I got to the place where I'm at, where I'm looking to go to, and what it means for me to be in my field, which is, I really believe that is being the servant leader.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Is there
Thank you.
anything else you wish to tell us, or anything else you wish to share that we didn't cover, or is there anything you want to say about your dissertation and distributing and how you plan to do that?
Well, I love the support of others. My dissertation was on the efficacy of instructional coaching for teacher retention, looking at it from a different lens. I've I've interviewed teachers. I really wanted to give a voice to teachers to have something to say about their experiences with instructional coaching. In the research, I found that when I was doing my literature review, was looking at, we always look at instructional coaching as a professional development, right? And what it does for the outcome is student achievement, higher, it improves. But in the meantime, the gap was like, okay, so how do the teachers feel? Because some teachers may feel that, why am I getting instructional coaching? Like, is the like how they how did they feel going through it? how was it presented? Because many look at it like, oh, I'm getting coached, that means I may not be good enough, right? So I took an angle of looking at it like, okay, so let me interview those teachers that are in a school and they're doing their, what is their experiences, how did they take it, and what was it in that that made them like it and that they can tell other teachers. So I found some themes, and the one resonating theme was trust, having that trust with their coach. So I really learned a lot from them, from the teachers that were in the study. And I was very grateful to the administrators who allowed me to interview their teachers, because there was also a level of having trust that their identities are not, there's no identifying where the schools were at, or where it's large urban middle in the Midwestern. So I interviewed teachers, and I apply that, what I learned from them and from my research, in my current field, in my current, what I do with the teachers now, which is building trust, relational trust. And it's more about letting them figure out for themselves that they already have the tools. It's more like validating, and more of a, the coach teacher relationship is more about a dialogical. I like to take that approach rather than telling them what to do.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I certainly appreciate your time talking with me today. It's been very informative. I really appreciate this. Um,
Thank you. Pleasure.
I still have on ask is for you to help me become fluent in Spanish. That's still out there. So, when you get time,
Yeah, I definitely will look into that. Absolutely. That I I would definitely look into it, Dr. Nguyen.
please. And I look forward to hearing from you again. Stay safe. As soon as the video is converted, I'll send you a link. Please watch it and let me know if I may upload it.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
dear.
day.
Stay safe. You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.